Let me show you how you can lose $100,000 buying a Porsche. And no, I don't mean buying the wrong Porsche, I mean buying the right one, but with the wrong options. Because in this market, two cars that look almost identical can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars apart. One has the right engine, the right transmission, the right seats, the right color, the right history, and the other one looks almost the same, but collectors just don't want it. And look at these. 91,000 4 years ago to now 115,000. And this one, 130,000 5 years ago, and today it's 175,000. Look at this one too, 385,000 4 years ago, and today it's 490,000. Three Porsches with very similar stories. 4 years ago they were for X amounts of dollars, and today they're worth 30 to 40% more. And then there's this one, it used to be 140,000, and today it's only 100,000. Same market, same brand, but completely different outcomes. I'm gonna show you exactly what these four cars are, why the market treated them so differently, and how you can use that information to build a 7-figure Porsche collection. Now, I'm gonna be outlining three different price points, starting from 100,000 to a 200,000 Widowmaker to a $500,000 car that beat actual hypercars on the track. Before we get started, I need you to understand this concept, because this is my whole philosophy behind analyzing these cars and why their prices are so different. It comes down to three things. The first thing is engineering. Whenever a car has a unique engineering factor, this could be a specific engine, a specific steering type like hydraulic steering, a specific transmission, and it was the last car to have this feature. This increases the price in a significant way. It also comes down to weight distribution. Coupes are worth more money than cabriolets or drop tops because the weight is closer to the center of gravity, and that means the car can take corners more safely at a higher speed. That's the first factor. The second factor is rarity. Simple economics, supply and demand. Whenever Porsche makes a car that is so special and they lower the supply, 500 units, 90 units, people flock in herds to buy that car. Now, this isn't just a simple special edition of a specific car. No, there can be a car that does not fall under the umbrella of special edition, but it is rare, and the price reflects that. For example, if a car is rear-wheel drive and a manual and is a coupe, that increases the price because rear-wheel drive pushes you from behind and it feels like you're flying compared to all-wheel drive. Now, what's important is that these cars are scarce. Don't just look at a special edition, because as we're going to see later, there are some special editions that are going down in price. Next up, we have the build sheet multipliers. These are specific options within one car group that change the price massively. This could be the Weissach package, specific brakes, specific seats, a specific color, a specific roof configuration. All these things matter. Now, all three of these are interconnected, right? A specific engine type can be rare, and then you put that with a specific color or brake, and then all of a sudden the car is worth way more. Now, first on our list is the 997.2 Carrera GTS. This is a very special car. On the engineering side, this was the last generation to have hydraulic steering ever. This car was equipped with the X51 power kit, which increases the horsepower. And not only that, it had the sport exhaust, which gave it that unique sound right out of the factory, no modifications needed. These two things really cater to the driving experience. And if that wasn't enough, this car had something else that was special, and it was having rear-wheel drive on a wide-bodied car. Now, usually if you want a wide body, which basically means the car looks more aggressive, has these wide hips, you need to get an all-wheel drive. But for this specific generation, for this specific car, Porsche allowed you to get the wide body with a rear-wheel drive. Now, why is rear-wheel drive so important? Again, because it makes you feel like you're being pushed from the back. It almost feels as if you're in a rocket ship being pushed around. Compare that to the all-wheel drive, it feels like you're on train tracks, and it's relatively boring. Now, rear-wheel drive with a wide body, that's something collectors want. I've talked about the engineering side, let's talk about the scarcity side. The 997.2 Carrera GTS is already somewhat rare, 6,747 units. But we're not just looking for any Carrera GTS, we're looking for a specific one. If we narrow it down to the rear-wheel drive, we go down to 2,656 units. Already a bit rarer. Now, if we're even more selective and we go for the manual rear-wheel drives, we go down to 530 units worldwide. Much more rare. In 2021, this car was trading for around $91,000, and today it's for around $115,000. If it were me buying this car, I'd try to get in within the $110,000 to $140,000 range. Obviously, if you can get it cheaper, get it. Now, don't just buy any manual rear-wheel drive Carrera GTS. No, you want a specific set of options. First off, it needs to be a coupe. This is very, very important. Now, for you to understand why coupes are more desirable compared to the drop downs, you need to understand center of gravity. If you have a drop down or a cabriolet as they call it, that means you have hydraulic pumps, you have supporting structures that ensure that this drop top can go up and down smoothly. That raises the center of weight. And what that means is that the car is less mechanically agile. If you're taking corners at a high speed, you're going to be safer in a coupe compared to a cabriolet. And it simply just gives you a better driving experience. You also want to have the carbon buckets. Now, whoever buys this car from you later on is gonna want to use it as a race car. So it makes sense for you to opt into the carbon buckets, the race car seats. Now, these swing the price by around $15,000, so make sure the car you're looking at has these. Now, another thing that might sound weird to you is center lock wheels. Now, normal wheels have 4 to 5 different screws that you use to bolt it onto the car, but these center lock wheels have one central bolt, and it actually makes it harder to switch out the tires. But for some reason, collectors want this difficult set of wheels, and I'll tell you why. The GT cars, right, GT2, GT3, they come with these set of wheels as standard. So when you take this look, you take these wheels and you put them on a GTS, a Carrera GTS, it instantly makes it more valuable. It basically mimics the GT3's appearance. As for the interior, you want the Alcantara Delete. Basically, Alcantara is a specific material that's on modern cars, and people prefer the classic leather interior. Now, you personally may not agree with some of these specifications, you may not find them comfortable, but this is what makes money. This is what collectors want. Next, we have the Porsche 996 GT2. Now, this car is pure danger. It was even nicknamed the Widowmaker, and that's simply because it doesn't have many of the safety measures that modern Porsches have today. No traction control, no stability control, it only has an anti-braking system, the ABS. One wrong move and you can be spinning on the road. Now, remember at the start of the video when I told you that when it comes to the engineering side, you want a car that was the first to do something or the last to do something. This is it. This car was the first one to introduce the PCCB brakes as a standard. That's Porsche's ceramic composite brakes, and these are by far the best brakes to have on a Porsche, engineering-wise. Now, obviously, they're not cheap, but they're the best engineering-wise. Now, since this is a 996, some people may have problems with the engine and say, oh, there's going to be an IMS bearing problem, there's going to be a bore scoring problem, but don't worry, this has the Metzger engine, so you're going to be safe. Now, this engine was derived from the GT1 Le Mans racer. So it's basically immune to all the problems you hear about. You're not going to be taking this car to the mechanic every month. You're going to be safe. Another important thing is that this car does not have all-wheel drive. It only comes as rear-wheel drive. And this instantly makes the car lighter, around 100 kilograms lighter compared to the turbo. And again, it gives you that rocket ship feeling that collectors crave. We've talked about the engineering side, let's talk about the scarcity. This car is 15 times more rare than the turbo, only 1,200 units made, and if we go even deeper to the desirable spec that people want, this is one of the secrets of the Porsche community. There's a specific variant or subset of this car that is super rare, only 91 units made worldwide. They fixed some of the issues and they made the car rarer, and it's simply the one to have. This was in 2004. They decided to make some changes to the car before they ended production, and they made it a little bit safer, which on paper should sound counterintuitive. That should lower the price, but they made it super rare, which is more important. Now, how can you tell this MK2 subset from the normal GT2s? Simple, just look at the mirrors. If you see carbon fiber, exposed carbon fiber, then you're looking at a very rare car. You're looking at the MK2. This car went from $135,000 in 2022 to now being worth $175,000 in 4 years. That's like a 30% increase on a depreciating asset. Now, what else should you check for once you've found the car? You should check for the PCCB brake condition. This is very important. It's one of the things that drove the value on these cars. And again, like the previous car, you should make sure it has specific seats, the sports seats, because the person buying this car off you in 5 or 10 years is going to want to drive it like a race car. We need to always have the end in mind. Who's going to buy this car off of us? Now, the next car I'm going to show you is an absolute beast. It beat many hypercars on the track. It gives you so much value for the money. It's already gone up from $362,000 in 2022 to now $490,000, and it's only gonna keep going up. It's the one and only 991.2 GT2 RS. This car is the pinnacle of internal combustion engines. It was the last one that Porsche made before they went to electric and hybrid cars. This is the most powerful, street-legal 911 out there with an internal combustion engine. People don't realize how significant this is. Imagine in 10 years when collectors want to go back to the analog era, to the raw feeling of driving a car, they're going to be looking at this one. And it's proven its value. On the Nordschleife, which is basically a track in Germany, it beat some of the world's most famous hypercars. Here's a list of the cars it beat: the Porsche 918 Spider, the McLaren Senna, the McLaren P1, the Ferrari LaFerrari. Of course this car is gonna rise in value. It would be ridiculous for it to not rise in value. Now, Porsche made around 3,700 units of this car, and most of them came with the Weissach package, so it wasn't really a unique thing to have. But if we get the Weissach package with certain colors and a certain performance kit, all of a sudden the car becomes incredibly rare. The variant that we're going for, there's only around 200 of them out there. Now, you found the car. What do you watch out for so you know you're getting the best spec out there? The one's gonna make you the most money. And to be completely honest, the one that's gonna be the most fun to drive. First off, you want the Weissach package. It basically shaves off weight, it uses certain internal components that are lighter and more motor sports grade, basically a race car. Now, what's interesting is that the Weissach package was actually less rare than the standard models, but we're gonna talk about that. You also want to look out for the magnesium wheels. These swing the price by around 13K. Very important, make sure the car you're looking at has the front axle lift. Now this just makes sure that there is no damage to the underbody. Cars without the front axle lift usually have damage to the underbody with time, so just keep that in mind. Now, I told you the Weissach package was very common, but here's the thing. Only a small percentage of the cars that were Weissach had paint to sample, which basically means you had historically significant colors on the car, and that massively increases collector value. Now, all these things are very important, but there's one thing that you must have if you're buying this car, because this is the thing that allowed it to beat these hypercars I talked about, right? The 918 Spider, the McLarens, the monthly performance kit. Now, this kit basically changes the entire car. It just puts everything on steroids. So if you're looking at this model, make sure you have this kit. This portfolio is relatively diversified. If you see what we've talked about, the 997.2 GTS, this is the peak of analog. And then the 996 GT2, this is a Metzger engine, and it's very rare, 91 units, the subset we talked about. And finally, a relatively modern car that's already appreciating in price. As usual, when you're looking at these cars, make sure you get a low mileage one with a full service history. And equally as important, the different value multipliers I've talked about for each car. Now, the whole premise of this is that the analog cars are becoming more scarce and the demand for them is infinite. Simple supply and demand. The supply is fixed because Porsche isn't making any more of these raw analog cars anymore. Everything's electric now. And the demand is ever growing because more of the people that couldn't buy these cars back then now have the means to do so. And this demand is only going to keep increasing. I don't have a course to sell you, and I give away all the research and all the market data for free. But if you have a couple $100,000 and you're looking at an exotic car and you don't want to lose 6 figures just because you made a mistake, I do take on a handful of private one-on-one clients. I'll personally look at the build sheet of the car you're looking at, the market in general, and timing this acquisition so you're getting the best value. If this is something you'd want, there's an application link in the description.